Record, and I'm gonna start stream, and I'm gonna switch to intro, and I'm gonna go live. We are live.
Hey, welcome to Vault Labs podcast, where we talk about the future of gaming and technology. Tonight, I think, are going to talk about kind of just some stuff happening in the world, kind of seeing where the world's at with crypto, where the world's at with Web3, get some input from Zach, who's obviously the crypto expert on this podcast here.
Expert.
And yeah, so Zach, I'm curious. So let's just talk. What's your thoughts about crypto or Ethereum? I know Ethereum has had kind of a bull run the last week.
Yeah, it's rallying, and as far as I know, the current rally is all due to test merges that are happening. So they ran a test merge, I think today, or they're going to run a test merge soon, and people are kind of buzzing about it and talking about it. And I think it's just it's general all over the market. I mean, it was already you had such a low and like such a quick rundown, and everybody who had just gotten into crypto and was so new to crypto just watched it go down and down and down. But they also remember the ride up, or the ride that they missed up. So I think they're starting to realize, like, okay, this is a cyclic thing. It's going to come back around.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah,
that
for
the
sure.
way you see the price action right now is probably because there's some narrative around this test merging that's happening. It's not like it's actually going to do anything for it. It's just a test merge.
Yeah.
But and in effect, it's just moving Ethereum it's moving Ethereum more exponentially than the rest
So
of crypto.
what happened with the test merge? What did that look like today? I didn't read anything on that yet.
I actually don't know. I was running around all today. I wanted to. All I saw was I just saw like three or four people talk about it, and then I had like two or three people message me about it. So
Okay.
I'll have to look into it. I actually don't know how it went, or if they executed it today, or if it's a tomorrow.
Okay.
Um,
So we'll touch on that Tuesday.
yeah,
So I do. You brought up a good point though, because I think it's interesting. Like people our age, early 20s, mid 20s, when Robinhood and all these investing apps started coming about, and it was really easy to sign up and buy stocks. All of a sudden, these kids are getting on, turning 18 or younger, and signing up, putting money in, and their money's only going up. That's what happened for years and years and years, and
yep,
they never experienced like even a drop.
yeah.
Maybe in crypto, but I mean, a lot of people trading options or the Tesla. Tesla just kept going up and up and up. I
Well,
think that's
yeah.
interesting. Yeah,
It really started heavy around like COVID, like the beginning of COVID.
yeah,
That crash
and
that
that
happened right as COVID happened, that crash was what everybody wrote up. Every kid getting
yeah,
into
yeah,
crypto,
exactly.
getting into
Because that crash wasn't that was the quickest dip I've seen.
yeah,
um, and then yeah, everyone wrote it up, and they're like, "Holy crap, I'm making thousands of dollars, if not more." And then the last year we've just seen it. Last 6 months just down, down, down,
yeah.
down.
You couldn't be
And
a
I think
loser. You couldn't be a loser in 2020. Like,
yeah. No, you couldn't. You're completely right. I think that gave a lot of people confidence. And then the first time they started losing money, they're like, "Oh crap, crap! That's real money I'm playing with."
yeah,
And now you kind of seeing that conditioning. I think where that's kind of with like an ETH when it had that quick drop to 800, people had that quick panic, and then they had that realization of like, "Oh yeah, yeah, don't panic. Just hold strong, like hold
yeah,
on to it." And that's what I think you're kind of seeing is hopefully the people that are younger investing in it also are now realizing that they can just hold, and it doesn't have to be this like quick turnaround investment.
yeah, yeah. I think you're gonna find more people like our age who are just getting into trading. I think you're gonna find them looking for more and more stability in their investments
Yeah,
coming soon, because before the narrative was like everyone believed, okay, you want stability in your investment, passive over time, safe investments. And then you had a whole bunch of narrative kick in around COVID that was like, why try to be longevity safe when like everything's up for like everything's being threatened right now. So everyone was like, all right, let's try to take as much risk as possible, make as much money as possible. I mean, I know more people. There's more people I think that I know that got into margin at the same time that they got into trading than I
Yeah.
think I ever imagined. Like
Yeah.
margin was used so much more, and margin and leverage are used so much more than like when I first started trading, I was just trading. Like I was just trading, and I mean we're still young, right? Like
Yeah.
for us, it's like we probably started investing at a much younger age than like most, probably the average. But like
Yeah.
now everyone our age has started to invest, but most of the people, I think the people who would have become investors before when nobody was an investor are now investors using margin and leverage versus just investing. Because I think a lot of people are investing now because even people who would traditionally never have invested are now they now have access to fractional share buying and Robinhood
Yeah.
and whatever. So like I
Yeah.
remember, yeah, when you first started investing, was there no fractional?
When I was 13,
Yeah.
I wanted to start investing. And this was like before, it was probably like when I was like 15, 16, it started slowly becoming talked about. But when I was 13, it wasn't a thing. But I was a nerd, read books. I was like, I gotta invest. So
Yeah.
I remember going on to Procter and Gamble's website, and it was just this crap website. Went down to the bottom of their page where they were like investor information. I printed out papers, filled it out, had my dad sign for me, and I bought like Procter and Gamble stock. That's how and yeah, you had write a check. It was like 5 shares at $50 a share, Um, and yeah, that it wasn't like I was like, I'm going to use margin, or it wasn't
Yeah.
like I want $100 worth or $1,000 worth. It was like, that's what I remember. And then by the time I was like 18, 19, and Robinhood kind of started coming around, that's where you're like, holy crap. Yeah, you can do whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you got me. My first ever held what can be considered an investment was just Bitcoin. I just had a whole bunch of Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
just
And
a,
that's,
I mean, I can't really talk for like mitigating your risk because I'm a big risk taker.
mhm.
But I think that when people expect safe trading and then they go in and they use margin, leverage, buy crypto, anything, you cannot be you can't expect safety and then go and only invest in things that are commonly known to be not safe.
Yeah. And that's the one thing I think you do really well that a lot of people don't is you have that muscle to where you say you invest in risky, but you full send.
Yeah.
You will not sell.
Yeah.
Where like I think the average person, 98% of people, they say they won't sell and then they'll see it down, 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 and down, and a year later down, down, and they're like, I got to pull out. I need this
Yeah.
liquid. And
Yeah.
that's where you have that muscle where you're like, I'm going risky and I'm sending it. I'm not backing out.
I mean, if you just think about it in a long term, I mean, even if you look at it from a cyclic point of view, you know that no matter what, you're at least depending on where your buy-in's at, right? Like I'm not saying don't stress if your buy-in your only buy-in happened to be at Bitcoin 69,000. Like
Yeah.
if you bought in at Ethereum 4,900 or whatever, and and that was the only Ethereum you ever bought, like that feels bad, man. Like I'm sorry about that. But it's also
Yeah.
like I also would not recommend
CA.
selling to that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but people don't realize that that's how the wealthiest of the wealthy in the trading circuit are actually making money, because otherwise if nobody was losing money, nobody'd be making a lot of money,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
that's the only
exactly.
reason why anything's happening.
There's
And
always a winner and loser.
yeah, there's always a winner, and the winner just happens to be the person who's more patient and just deals with the pain as it goes along. Granted, it is hard for some people because some people need to take out their investment to go whatever. Some people are investing and playing around with money that they need to be able to spend, and there's only a certain circumstance where that I think is a good idea, and that's that you don't have a huge amount of disposable income that and you still want to like be invested and be getting the most out of your money versus like keeping it in like a savings or checking account.
Yeah, no,
Because you
for
can
sure. And
easily
that's
do that now. I mean, I don't have a bank account. Did you know that, Caden?
no,
I don't have a bank account.
no, no. Wow,
I
wow.
mean, my company has a bank account,
Yeah, but you don't
but I
personally.
don't have a bank account.
Do you think I have a bank account, Zach?
Oh yeah. I bet you have like a savings account and a checking account,
Stop.
probably from like two banks.
I cannot confirm or deny
Yeah,
this. I do. I think I have like 12 accounts.
yeah. So
I,
yeah, I
I
mean,
like to stay diversified in the banking system.
yeah. The only reason why my company even has a bank account is just because
Yeah,
for
you gotta.
tax filing and LLC filing. But
Yeah.
all my finances are just done through cryptocurrency, and like virtual money apps.
Yeah, I mean that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
That's really I mean that's great. Now do you find that slightly stressful though because going liquid like that's how I feel. I keep a lot of my money in investments. Most of my money's in investments. And I don't sit on a lot of liquid cash. But like I'm at the point of like if I want to make a big purchase, especially now, I'm like I don't want to sell out stocks or something now
Right.
if it's at a low. That's a 40% down from where it was. It's like that would be stupid. So it's like you do play that risk. Do you find with having most of your assets locked up in crypto that you feel like you can't make those big purchases when it's down?
No, because a lot of my money is in US dollar coin. So like I
Yeah.
mean it so technically I say I don't have a bank account, but in reality like I have a lot of US dollar coin on hand.
Yeah.
And that's technically like a savings account because you're getting whatever
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
1%
Yeah. That
APY
makes
or
sense.
whatever. Um, but so I mean I'm not 100% risky. Like I'm not out here with all my money in Ethereum or something. Like a lot of my money is in Ethereum, but I would say probably it's a good there's a good 25% sitting in US dollar coin.
Yeah.
Um, just just because I know that I want to. Well, there's a solid like 20% sitting in U.S. dollar coin that's non-additive, so like not sitting in an account where I can transfer that U.S. dollar coin for more crypto. But then there's also like say 10 more percent or so, or maybe more, maybe even 20% of like just U.S. dollar fiat sitting on exchanges in orders.
Okay.
So like
Yeah.
at any given time. So like
Is there
yeah.
is there like a I'm sure there is. Is there like a S&P 500 crypto?
Yeah, I think
There is
actually. So
what
I think. Well, you're talking about like a ETF.
like a yeah, index fund.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. They just made. I think Canada has one. There's one in Canada that you can get in the U.S. and I think I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure BlackRock.
Uh-huh.
Um, BlackRock is making like a mutual fund or something for crypto, and I think somebody else already did some big
All right.
silver something or maybe
Okay.
something that sounds like BlackRock but might not be BlackRock.
So is that the $10 trillion thing that was essentially they're making a crypto ETF.
BlackRock has $10 trillion. That's like what. So a lot of crypto heads are like, "Oh, $10 trillion incoming," but it's
Yeah,
not.
it's already
BlackRock
yeah.
is managing $10 trillion. They don't.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
not
yeah.
allocating 10 trillion to crypto. If they were
No,
allocating
that
ten
that would
trillion to
be a
crypto,
huge push.
it would 10x everyone's crypto. No
Yeah.
matter
Yeah.
what, no matter what you have, it would 10x your crypto.
Yeah.
Um, so
That's crazy though. Could you imagine managing $10 trillion?
$10 trillion is a
You
lot.
don't want to accidentally press the wrong button.
That's like more than most countries have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
No kidding. So
most.
here's my next question for you. Is I know there was a statement recently put out by Mark Cuban talking about virtual land. And he was basically like, it's stupid.
He said, what did he say? He said virtual real estate is like the dumbest thing I've ever seen, or something, right?
Yeah. And
Virtual.
I don't know the full context now. I'm
I
sure
know the
he.
context. The context is this guy sees. So I agree with his. If I had his mentality towards it, I would say I fully agree, and I do fully agree with what he is talking about. He's talking about. So we talked about this last time a little bit. I think anything on the internet that you can make money in
Yeah.
gets there's your initial phase where people start to learn about it, right? And then there's the word of mouth phase where you can still kind of make money with it, but you're word of mouth learning about it, like, oh, drop shipping or whatever. Then
Yep. Yeah.
then there's the saturation phase. Then there's a guy making money trying to teach other people how to do this thing phase. And that right now is happening with the digital real estate thing, because people have this. There was a legitimate, the first project legitimate, the second project kind of legitimate, the third project little less, and it just diminished to like almost worth nothing, because you're just a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and you're just going up, and like half the dudes who are on YouTube now are like, I'll show you how I made $800,000 last year selling virtual real estate. And like, everyone's like,
750,000 from their class.
right, exactly. So I think that Mark Cuban probably sees that happening and is like, this is a complete scam. Like, but anything, like, I mean, everyone thinks Tai Lopez is Tai Lopez talks about whatever, knowledge or whatever he talks about. And everyone's
Knowledge.
like, knowledge is a scam. Whatever Tai Lopez does, people think is a scam.
All I know is he's in his garage with his Lamborghini.
I'm in my garage.
I remember seeing those before they were a meme.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, man, who's buying this? Like legit. And then it became a meme.
I would see him all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He spent so much on marketing, but it paid off. I mean, for him, it was just a cost analysis of if he spent $10,000 and made 20, he just pumped it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a good point. That is, and that's what I would say is I think really, and I would say 90%, 95% of virtual real estate is crap, because it is. It's a lot of like unfulfilled promises where they say they're going to build something, or they're going to let the community build it, but don't have the proper platform.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're seeing when we're trying to combat our game going forward.
Yeah. I think that a lot of what they're talking about when they say it's a scam, like fully, is just the projects that are just, they don't even have a roadmap. They're just selling digital plots of land, and then they're just hoping that somebody's dumb enough and thinks that they didn't make it on the first one, so they're going to make it with this one. And that's just the wrong mentality to have if you're a new investor, is like, I bet you tons of people lost their money because they logged onto like OpenSea and they saw like not Bored Apes or something, or like, Happy Apes or something. And they were like, okay, I didn't make it on Bored Apes, but I'll make it on Happy Apes. And it's like, that's not how it works. Like, you have to be, you won't know you're making it in an investment until you've made it. Like, when you're first making an investment, it's like a very, very slim chance that you will feel like you will start to feel an investment work immediately, or that you will be right about an investment. Like, if you go into an investment thinking you're going to 100x your money on this investment, you're 99.999 times out of 100.
Yeah, it's a classic. By the time your neighbor's talking about it and you hear it on the news, get out. It's over. I think it's a Warren Buffett quote where he's like, when others are greedy, get out. When others, get out, be greedy.
Yeah.
Essentially. And yeah, you're 100% right. Like, unless you got some killer information and killer inside experience in an industry, the odds of you going in and being able to be like, this is going 100x is almost non-existent. And that's where a lot of these people either stumble across something like that, and then they're like, oh my goodness, this is great, and then make their course. Like that's kind of how drop shipping is those people got in at a great time with a great, market and a great product, and then now they make most of their money off teaching it. But it's saturated. So what do you think about blockchain gaming and careers? When do you think that'll be saturated?
Blockchain gaming and careers. I would say that right now, if you look at, so I think it's an interesting question, because I think that there's only specific applications that are currently visible, that you could say, okay, I could see how blockchain could be used in this part of gaming, or like this specific aspect of blockchain could be used in this part of gaming. And that's what's currently available. And there's barely anything. Like, isn't there like, there's like 400 crypto gaming projects, and some of them have like, no activity or whatever. So I bet you there's like, realistically, there's probably like 30 solid projects.
Yeah.
And the rest are probably just trying their best.
Yeah. So what's your opinion though with a lot of, because I know I've seen a bunch of things of like this company investing 40 billion, this company, Dubai investing 50 billion into the future of blockchain gaming. Do you think all of a sudden in 3 years we'll see just a conglomerate of oversaturation?
Well, the thing is, right, I think that the oversaturation only comes when something is simple and you're making money with it. Drop shipping, for example, right? Drop shipping took like all the hard work out of starting a online business. Yeah. So it was an easy thing. Same with like, Forex trading. It's like technically you're not doing any manual labor when you're trading. You're not doing any like super hard work. You're kind of just like trying to analyze. Yeah, it's risky, but it's like it's like online. It's like if you took online gambling as a job, right? Like anything where it's like simple to do or like easy to do, or you could learn how to do it in a week. Those are the things that get saturated. Blockchain gaming investments might get saturated because, I think it already kind of is, with Sandbox and Decentraland being at the top, because they kind of sucked in all the investor money right out the gate, like the growth, the people who want growth in an investment, like over time, they sucked those people in pretty early. But I don't think the industry, like working in the industry, will ever be saturated, because it's just not easy. Like it's too complicated. People have to go through school to do most things.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. In a book I've read called The Catalyst by Jonah Berger, I think.
Yeah.
He talks about how in business you try and do the opposite, where like you're trying to bring something complex, reduce the catalyst, and make it easy. So if you're trying like capture a new client, how do you make it as easy as possible? You see that with companies using on online ordering apps. McDonald's, you literally just 2 buttons, you can drive through and have a hamburger. Like they try to reduce it and increase the catalyst. And that's a really good point, is, the jobs that don't have that catalyst right now and will be, either require a lot of labor or people interactions and a more high skilled career such as programming, just a catalyst to get to that level will be harder. But it will be interesting to see as these bigger companies reduce that catalyst or increase the catalyst, reduce the gap by making easier to program games and stuff. And I think that I remember when I was 13, I got into coding websites. And when I was doing it, it was like HTML. It was very basic, you did it. And I kept going towards it. And even just seeing it from, 13 to 14, I was like, everything's going to be drag and drop in like 5 years. Yeah. And my hypothesis was, because I wanted to get into coding when I was younger, and I was like, I shouldn't pursue this fully, because I'm like, by 2020, this was, 10 years ago, you know, more than that.
Yeah.
By 2020, I was like, everything will be drag and drop. I'm like, you'll be able to program by drag and drop. Now,
Yeah.
I was wrong. It still requires
But-
someone who knows.
Yeah, but
But-
you were onto something for sure.
Yeah, and that was my opinion, was all these technical skills will eventually be programmed out, and AI will just be able to do it, and people will just drag, and that's what you see with now, like Wix or certain websites. Like now you can still do back-end coding. They still have the option, but a lot, you know, anybody can go on to GoDaddy and 2 clicks and have, it's not a great website, but it's a website. Where 10
Yeah.
years ago, that wasn't a thing. You had to pay a website developer 10, 15 grand to have
Yeah.
a website.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, honestly. I mean, I'm glad that as soon as I was pretty much the second that I got into website, any business where I needed a website, there was template websites. So I didn't have to go and learn HTML from scratch. The thing is, like, business, and I'm sure you had this same thing, there's so many obstacles that get thrown in your way, right? Like, especially in the US, like whether it's from a government perspective or whether it's from a like just a fundamental perspective. Like, you have to run a business in the US right now, you have to start your website. Just to run a business anywhere, you have to pretty much have a website no matter what you're doing. Almost. Right? I mean,
You gotta be relevant in Google,
Right.
and that helps with
Right.
the SEO.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
almost nothing where I would say you're good without a website. Like, unless you're maybe you're a farmer, like a farmer that
Yeah.
has a supply chain already, then maybe.
And that is interesting, because I've seen in my industries working in marketing, some businesses don't use websites and they kill it. But the way they do that is they're so good at what they do, just one off, and they basically double down on this one element, and that's how they get customers. Now, if they were to scale, they would be completely screwed,
Yeah.
because it's hard to replicate that. But
Yeah.
basically, some people can pull it off, but it's really hard to nowadays. But I would even argue that websites are becoming saturated, and just like having a website. You know, what does it mean to have a website? Well, you have contact information in this, but now you're seeing people utilize different search engines. Like now, when you want a product, like I don't Google a product. I go directly to my Amazon app, put in, buy it. That's it. Amazon's my search engine for products. You know, unless it's something obscure, but that's 99% of stuff I buy. So when's the time people, you know, when they're looking up that restaurant or business, where they just skip over the website and go directly to Instagram or TikTok now?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Because that's the thing is you start your website. If you need a website, you don't. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can think of a lot of company cases where business cases where you don't need a social media presence, or you don't need a website or whatever. But even then again, like the ones that do really well they at least have a Facebook page or something where like the customer base, especially if it's like a service thing, like a nail place or like a whatever, they usually have a Facebook or something.
Yeah. And yeah, for sure. And that's a good point. I know I read something from Alex Hormozzi, and he said in the past he would say businesses should do 80% advertisement, focus on like spending, and 20% on brand development. And he said the last 3 years I've switched that, where it's 80% brand development, 20% on paid advertising. Because he said it's so important. Like, you need to focus on advertising when you're getting started, because you need to get your customer and you need to stay afloat.
Yeah.
But he said branding is so important to the extent, like you're saying, is it's the whole thing with like any brand, Nike, you know, I'm just trying to think of like Apple, Samsung, like all the major ones, but it's like they have it down so much where you don't even care what they're selling, you buy.
Right.
You know, where the extent of that's way more powerful. Now, it's a long-term play. And once again, kind of talking about the stocks earlier, is a lot of businesses don't have the patience for a long-term play.
Yeah.
But it's essential because that's what, once you can build a brand, you're unstoppable in your niche.
Yeah. I think I think that if you build, I think for a local business, your brand does not matter for as much as if you are a larger company or you're trying to scale at all. Like if you're a franchise, you need to have brand identity because otherwise you just have a bunch of, it's like 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven has a good brand because people like 7-Eleven for a specific thing. Like you think 7-Eleven, you think like the Slurpee thing, like weird hot dogs and the rotisserie things.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what they do, and that's probably where they make most of their money is just having people come in 3 a.m. on a college campus and go with 7-Eleven. Like that's just like an example of like a really obscure kind of branding style that's working. But then, you've got like your local your local restaurant or something that there's one of. It doesn't their branding really, actually, I guess I'm gonna argue with myself here because local to me, there is a restaurant that recently opened and they've done the branding so well on this restaurant. And they've done like they have it so like through word of mouth alone. There are people driving 2.5 or 3 hours just to come out and like they're like hosting these festivals as a restaurant and having people drive 2 or 3 hours with this brand new restaurant that's in the middle of this weird town, like way out of nowhere. So
well, that's like the restaurant Loaded that sells all the burger stuff in Syracuse.
Yeah.
They're people literally come here and they're like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And they're considered local, but I mean they just, and they can charge triple, like 2 times the amount for a burger or average meal because they have the brand. Yeah. But I agree. The two difference, I would agree with you with what you initially said was if your business is not looking to grow, brand doesn't matter. If you're a mom and pop shop and you're like, we've owned this for 30 years and the same people are showing up and we don't care, sure. But anyone that's like, I want to grow as a business over the next 10 years, I think it's essential.
Yeah, they need it. Well, especially because like nobody's listening to a lot of these businesses, a lot of their customers like that aren't just coming from word of mouth, are coming from radio. And it's like, when was the last time you heard a radio? It's a long time ago. I haven't
listened to the radio in years.
It's been a long time, man. Like I'll get into I'll like every once in a while I'll need like a bigger truck, so I'll go borrow my dad's truck, and he's got the AM radio in his truck going on like NPR or whatever, and I'm like, man, what is this, man? It sounds like people are talking on ancient device. Like it just sounds ancient, and you get the like all the time still. I'm like, what is going on? Why aren't people? I mean,
granted, it's slightly nostalgic.
It is, but I don't think that's why he's doing it. I'm like, dude, get a. I'm like, you know, like he's an IT guy, or he was, but I'm like, why are you not? What is going on here?
That's funny. Well, good. I think right there we'll end it for today. Unless you got anything else to add.
No.
I think it was a good, a more brief discussion tonight, but we'll be back Tuesday to discuss some more, possibly with a guest. We'll see.
Yeah, let's see. Here we go. I'm going to end the stream. Okay.
All right.
End the